actually an instructor for the Thursday section 15 as well. So I want to take a little bit of time to just introduce myself and welcome you all to today and the first step of your Foundations of Leadership experience. So I'm really excited for you all. You're going to learn some awesome things. For those of you who are going to be going out for the student leadership, we're excited for you all to learn all the different things that we have to offer for you. Some things I'm excited about. I lined up a pretty good list of presenters and lecturers. I'm giving myself a pat. We just have an eclectic group of lecturers coming in every Monday. Anywhere from staff at SSU, faculty at SSU, president of the university, just a variety of different people. And we hope that during their time here, they're going to be able to engage with you for that 50 minutes to really be able to hit some of those key concepts from the book. And as you talk to your instructors and you go over your syllabi, you understand that it will be our expectation that you're doing some of the reading before coming to this lecture, and that will allow for you to engage with the presenter in deeper ways. So a couple of things. One, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to accommodate those of you who are waitlisted today. So if you are on the wait list, we're going to ask that you leave and just kind of keep an eye out on the wait list, and we'll just cross our fingers that you'll be able to make your way up. Secondly, if you are in section 15 with Alvin Nguyen, that's me, that meets on Thursdays from 4 to 6:50. Unfortunately, this class cannot fit all of us in here, so if you are in my section and you are joining us today, I ask that you leave and I will get to see your beautiful face on Thursday. In regards to attendance and seating, as you can see, we got the logistics kind of pretty good. I mean, we started a couple minutes after, but I think we got it down. So you're going to want to check in with your particular instructor and your TA to see when attendance is going to be taken. But from this point forward, you can expect that you're going to be sitting in the areas that you are in today. Awesome? All right. So what I'd like to do now is invite the instructors and the TAs to come up and do a quick introduction. While you might not be in their particular class, you'll be seeing us around every Monday, so it's good for you to know who we have as instructors for this class. So I asked my lovely friends to just introduce themselves, their name, what they do on campus, and any other interesting information that they'd like to include.
My name is Lauren. I am TA for Bruce, and I am a peer mentor on campus.
Hi everybody, my name is Bruce Peterson. I'm the former Associate Director of EOP. I retired last May. I spent 26 years on campus, and luckily I get to come back to this year because this was the favorite thing I did for the whole 26 years I was here. You guys are going to have an amazing experience with this class. It's going to push you. It's going to force you out of your comfort zone, hopefully. It's going to force you into places where maybe you didn't know you wanted to go. But in the long run, you can develop skills and get ideas from this class that you can do the rest of your life. So I'm really excited to be here.
Hello, so my name is Jesse Andrews. I teach the Thursday from 5 to 6:50 class, and I also work in residential life with Alvin. I'm our community conduct coordinator, so I do our student conduct, alcohol and drug education. I work with some student groups on campus, and I've been here on this campus for 5 years, and I've taught this class or some form of it for I think 4 of those years.
Hi, I'm Kat Burns. I'm Jesse's TA. I am a CSA. I am also a peer advisor in the advising office. I used to do some orientation and some other stuff. I guess that I don't remember right now because there's not looking at me. All right, I'm done.
Hi guys, I'm Shannon. I'm the TA for Kirsten Survey's section. I'm also a peer mentor on campus for one of the English 60 classes. I'm a psychology and ANCS major.
And I'm Kirsten Survey, and I teach on Tuesdays from 10 at 10 o'clock. My section is number 2. And I teach this class. I'm also FIG for University Studies, and I also teach in a single subject credential program where I teach student teachers, and I also supervise them. And I'm in charge of grants. If you're into math and science, I have money for you. I taught high school for years, and so I've been here for 16 years, so I balanced both cases.
Good afternoon, I'm Jocelyn, and I was a student here and then started teaching as a graduate student in the fall of 2000, so I'm going on 14 years having taught on and off here. Most recent years, last year, I started teaching and committing myself to teaching here more full-time. I've been teaching in women's and gender studies and university studies, so I'm really excited to be a part of the leadership class as a former student and executive teacher here, so welcome.
Hi, I'm Delaney McGinley. I'm the TA for Jocelyn. I'm a senior, Hutchins major, women and gender studies minor. I'm a CSA on campus and trainer, so you might have seen me. I've also been known to do summer orientation, summer bridge, and I worked for John for 2 years.
Hi, I'm Jane McDonough. I'm also Pearson Education Faculty. Work with teacher credential candidates, both as supervisor and in teaching. And I was a superintendent and principal, so if you remember me from being in the principal's office, don't tell me. I would never know. And I really enjoyed offering opportunities to think about leadership and have my students become teachers of leadership during this time. So our section 10, it meets right after this, well, almost right after this, at 2 to 3 quarters on Monday.
I'm Veronica Saxer. I'm JSA. I'm a sophomore Hutchins major and I'm a CSA on campus in Bourgeois. And I'm Stacy Murray. I am the instructor for Tuesday nights from 5 to 6:40, 50, something like that. And I work in the residential life office. My official title is community development coordinator, but I work very closely with the student leaders that work for our departments. And I've been teaching this class, I think, 6 years. And I love it.
All right. Oh, my turn. My name is Jonathan. I'm third year here at Sun State, sociology major. I'm a CSA on campus in Zinfandel Village for first years. I've also done some orientation, summer bridge. I've been a campus tour guide. I've pretty much done everything on campus that you can possibly do. So, yeah, talk to me.
Good morning. My name is Mark Fabinar. I'm the director of the Hub, which is the Center for Diversity, Vitality, and Creativity in the New Student Center. I will be teaching or co-teaching the Thursday class from 10 to 11:50, I believe it is. And I'm really excited. I've been teaching leadership, ethnic studies, psychology, business, writing classes for 18 years. Looking forward to working with you.
Hi everyone, I will be Mark's TA. My name is Usha. I'm a graduate student in organization development and also an assistant residential life coordinator on campus in Bourgeois. And I'm really looking forward to this experience.
Awesome. Thank you. So at this time, I'm going to be introducing our first presenter of this class. You may have gotten emails from her. You may have seen her around campus. You can't not see her on campus or can't not get emails from her. She is the Associate Director for Student Development within Residential Life, and she is also my supervisor, so I'm very proud to be introducing to you all both folks.
Hello. I'm very excited. Wait a minute. So when someone says hello, I say hello. Hey, I know you have more energy than that. You're going to need it for these types of positions. Hello. What up to the hand? Hello. We're going to work on this throughout the semester. We're going to work on it. There's one more person. I know she doesn't think that she needs to be introduced, but it ties right into something that I'm going to talk about a little bit later. But it's Julie Greathouse. Julie has been working on campus for many years. You can stand up and say hi. Julie Greathouse. Julie is a person that works a lot behind the scenes. One of the reasons that you all are in these seats. One of the reasons that we have such a great developed leadership
leadership program. One of the reasons that you have faculty and student leaders that work with you and peer mentors on campus is because of the work that Julie does behind the scenes. And so we're really grateful, and she's a good friend of mine. I'm excited to work with her again on the leadership process. So you'll be seeing her name pop up with some leadership stuff if you're applying for positions, might be interviewing, some of those types of things with her. So it's important to know who Julie is, because without her, none of us would be standing here right now. So thank you, Julie. It's good to see you again. And Alvin, you didn't even say you took a new job, so you'll be doing something new soon. You want to tell them what you're doing new soon?
Sure, I am not going to be serving as residential life coordinator. I'm going to be taking on the position of sophomore year experience coordinator starting next week. It's a new program that we're starting on campus, really looking to create a sophomore program that allows for our sophomores to take classes together and really just engage in their coursework. We don't do enough around sophomore programming. It's kind of a washout year for some people. They look at it like that, but I'm really trying to reverse that a little bit and look at sophomore year as a way to continue engaging and really ramping up for the latter 2 years of
And one of the nice tie-ins for our leadership program and stuff like that, you know, we have like 12 or 13 or 15 positions. This will be just another peer leader position that Alvin will be creating to work with students on campus. So some of you might say, oh, that's kind of interesting. I might be interested in that. So watch for information on that. My name is Mo. I work in the Office of Residential Life. However, my office is in the Student Center on the second floor. I'm housed kind of with ASP, AS, Slice, the Hub. We're all kind of over there in that area because I also get to do not just residential life stuff, judicial, leadership, you know, things like that. I also get to do programs and activities. So I work really closely. That's why you get emails from me about events and things like that. One of my passions is making sure that you know what's going on. Making sure that you're aware of all of the opportunities that are available to you so that you can make decisions as to what you want to get involved in and how you want to spend your time outside of the classroom. Accentuating that stuff that you learn in the classroom. So that's a lot of how I spend my time and work with folks, is to try to help market those things and provide those things. Sorry if you get too many emails from me. You can always say, don't send me anymore, but then you're going to miss out on some great stuff. So anyways, today I'm going to talk about, and I only have a short period of time, to talk a little bit and to get you like geared up and revved up for what is leadership and kind of what are we talking about. You're going to talk more about it in your first class when you have that with your instructors and your peers that just introduce themselves. But I'm just here to gear up a little bit for that. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to talk a little bit about maybe some of the expectations that we might have as a whole for that class. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about if you want to apply for any of the Seawolf leadership positions, how you might be able to do that. There's about 70 people or so that have started their application so far. I know many more of people are going to be trying to do that. We only have 2 weeks till those are due, so I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So when I think about what is leadership, we can move ahead there, my friend. I sometimes go on the internet, as we all do sometimes, I Google leadership and images, and this is some of the stuff I came up with. I came up with and I talk a lot in pop culture terms because that's a passion of mine as well. So movies, music, things like that, you'll follow along for sure. So the first one up there, the Evita Peron. People of Argentina, your newly elected president. You know, that's kind of that. Kind of more dictatorish in some ways, but she's kind of up there. She's very excited and happy to have you all there. Then we've got the King of the World, Leonardo DiCaprio. Kind of leadership. I'm on my boat. No people following. At least he's got people over there, but no people really following. I'm not sure where they are. I think they sunk with the Titanic. But that didn't work out very well for Leo, so that image really didn't do well for me either. You've got the person in the middle with a little kumbaya action going around outside. That might be like in my camp days when I was a camp counselor. You know, certainly people surrounding you and you're the leader, you know, like paying homage to you. I'm not really very fond of that picture either. Something about that, I don't know, just doesn't feel quite right. Then you've got the leader that's running away from the people that are following them. They're just like, goodbye, catch me if you can. Another movie starring Leonardo DiCaprio, by the way. I don't know, none of these really did it for me, Alvin. So I looked for some more pictures. Now this one kind of, I'm not really sure about this one either. These are things that came up when I typed in leadership and images of round-headed people and leadership. They're kind of making their leader walk the plank. I'm not really sure what happened there. Something didn't quite go right is what I'm thinking. So not working for either. So then I thought maybe I'll go to books, or I'll look at people. Leaders, people, sometimes people consider to be leaders. So we have a lot of different people in here. The U.S. women's soccer team, Martin Luther King Jr., Nelson Mandela, Gandhi, Hillary Clinton, Rudy. There's sports figures, there's more intellectual figures. There are people that have created wonderful things. There's Oprah, and the American women leaders. There's a lot of people that folks follow, and I oftentimes wonder why. Why does Will Smith have a great following? I don't know. But Abraham Lincoln, did I put Hitler on here? Yes, why do people follow him? Why do people do what he asked them to do? And I know you're going to talk about that during your class. But the pictures of leaders didn't really quite do it either because they're all so vast and so different. So it really didn't help me either. Go ahead. So then I looked at books. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is just, as I typed in leadership in books, this is just one of like 100 pages of different types of books that you can find that have to do with being a leader or leadership. And it's kind of like when you're raising kids, there's so many different books out there that one says do it this way, one says do it this way, one says do it that way, one says do it the other way. And they all kind of conflict a little bit sometimes on how do you discipline, or how do you praise, or how do you do this, that, and the other. So there's a lot of books out there on leadership, and maybe how many of you have read a book on leadership, maybe something? Well, you're all going to be reading one now because you've got it for your class. So, I mean, there's a ton of information out there on leadership, and again, because it all conflicts, and because, there's so much information out there, that didn't really work for me either. So then I just decided to kind of come up with my own thing based on the things that I looked at, the pictures that I looked at, the people that I kind of keep an eye on and see why do people follow them. What are some of the characteristics of being a leader that they have in common, or that I've seen on campus of students or staff or faculty that are involved in leadership, or that people seem to follow and it seems to resonate with them as far as them being a leader. And one of the things is confidence. If you don't believe that you can be a leader, if you don't believe that you can get up here and talk to the people in your class, or get up in front of a meeting at summer orientation or something like that, you don't have confidence in yourself, probably that's going to affect what kind of leader that you are. You're going to learn a bit this semester about confidence. And hopefully in the things that you get involved in. It's really important that you get involved in something when you're in college. Leadership is one thing. I don't know how many of you are planning to apply for positions? Okay, that's great. Better get to those applications. How many of you are involved in a club and organization right now? Excellent. How many of you have gotten involved in your residential community, or in your summer bridge group, or in a club or organization and you're a leader like within that organization? So a few of you. That's going to change. By this time next year, you're all going to be raising your hands. I just know it. So confidence, you're going to gain that as you find successes, just like anything. Once you hit the ball in softball a few times, you gain confidence. So that's how you get that. Initiative. You need to be able to take initiative. You need to be able to say, observe the situation in front of you, and to say, I think I need to do this, or I think I need to meet the folks where they're at here. Initiative is something that we're looking for when we're looking for leaders. You need to be just in the way that you work with the people that are in your group or in your charge. I don't want to say in your charge because that makes it seem like you're in charge. And I don't always agree that there's different ways that works for these things, for these positions, not necessarily. But just, fair, the way that you're looking at things, the way you're treating people, the way that you're resolving conflicts, those types of things. Is it fair? Is it just? That's something that's important. If you're playing favorites and you like this person better than this person, that's going to come through. If a CSA likes this room better than this room, you better believe that people are going to notice it and they're going to respond to that one way or the other. If my kids think that I'm treating one of them more fairly than others, then they let me know that on a daily basis. Then Alfred will act out, and I will know that there's something he needs. He doesn't feel like he's getting as much attention as he needs. Kind of looking at those types of things. Enthusiastic and charismatic. That doesn't mean that every leader is a stand up in front of the group, woo, rah-rah type of leader. That's not how it always works out. You saw those pictures of leaders. While a Will Smith and a Hillary Clinton might be out there and doing their thing and kind of that type of thing, you have the Mandelas and you have the Gandhis that are more kind of behind the scenes, and more kind of quiet types of leaders. There's not one size fits all when it comes to leadership. And that's something that's really important for you to know. None of our positions require one type of leader. And I don't think leadership in general, if you had all the same type of people doing all the same types of jobs, that would get really boring. And you wouldn't be reaching your audience because not everybody resonates with that. Not everyone responds to the gung-ho type of leader. You know, a lot of people respond to the more quiet, kind of behind the scenes. You know, Julie and I are very different in the way that we do leadership. We're very different in the way that we present ourselves to others. I think both pretty effective, but we're very different. I'm much more, it's kind of like an Amy Grant song. I like to dance and sing with the band, and she likes to kind of watch from the thing there and kind of cheer me on. But she does a lot of stuff too. She's the one that got the band there in the first place. You know, so there's lots of different ways to be a leader, and I think we kind of show that a little bit. Courageous, you gotta take steps out of your comfort zone sometimes. You've got to do the things that are unpopular sometimes. You've got to say the things that aren't necessarily always very well received. You've got to make decisions that sometimes are going to take a little bit of guts from within. You know, and then you start to gain that confidence we talked about. You need to be motivated. Motivated from within, sometimes from without, from others to say, hey, let's go, let's go. And that's part of being a leader too. You have other people around you who cheer you on. You know, all of the peer mentors, all of the faculty here, we all want each other to succeed. You know, so we're going to cheer each other on. We're going to cover for them when they need some help and things like that. Excuse me. You need to have good judgment. Critical thinking skills are important. You know, it's to stop and think, not do it first and then think later. And sometimes we all have challenges with that. But to really think about what you're doing and think about how does that play out. Most of the time, we don't have to make a decision just like that. There are some times when we do, but sometimes we have the time to think about it, to talk with others, to make some decisions in conference with others, and not necessarily jump and do it first and then find out later, oh, maybe that wasn't the best way to go about it. But we also have to be able to fail sometimes. We have to be able to make some decisions and say, that wasn't the right decision, I messed up. And that's the key, to say, I messed up. You know, we're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to say something that we probably shouldn't have said. Owning up to that and saying, I screwed up, says a lot more to me than someone who tries to cover it up or go the other way or say, I didn't do it, it was their fault. You know, so things like that, good judgment. Endurance. You need a lot of endurance to do this type of work. You know, you saw a lot of people that are CSAs up here, that's a 20-hour-a-week job, but it's really more. And most of our student leaders, that's the case. It's an 8-hour-a-week job, but it's really more. Because you're meeting with students, you're dealing with some of their issues. You're going to the events, you're doing this and that and the other. You have your homework, you have your personal life, you have being a leader, there's a lot of things on your plate. So you have to make sure that you have room on your plate to do that. Not everybody has room on their plate for 13 things, but sometimes I see our student leaders here taking on too many things. So endurance is something that you need to know. Communication is something that you need to kind of work on and kind of make sure that you have. It's good to be a listener. It's good to hear what people are saying, to really hear what people are saying. When I was in my counseling grad program, I had to do these counseling sessions, and they had a camera on me from behind a window. You kind of see on one of those NCIS things, they have the window on the other side, and they were watching me do things. And the cameras, I would go back and watch the tape, and I'd be like, I was so worried about what I was going to say to that one comment that I missed all of the other stuff that that person said. So I needed to learn how to be a better listener, and I still work on that every day. But being able to communicate, being able to get across what you think. And then meeting the group where they're at, I think that that's something that's really important. Not every group, you're the student leader. As the student leader, you know, their job is not to meet you where you're at as a student leader. But your job is to meet your group where they're at. And they're going to be all over the place in knowledge, experience, interest, motivation. So you've got to kind of meet each person where they're at. So that takes skill. And those are some things you're going to learn a little bit about and hear a little bit about when you're here. Alvin, could you please? You're going to learn in your first class period when you go and read your book, or if you've looked at your book already, that first chapter talks about relational leadership. And that's the type of leadership that we kind of work with here. That kind of leadership is purposeful. There's a reason for what you're doing. We don't just go off and do things just to be willy-nilly and do things. There's a purpose. You know, there's an intention behind what we're doing. Everything we're doing. When you find your faculty, your students in here with their signs up saying, hey, come over here. One of it's to let you know who they are. One of it's to let you know where they're going to be. You're part of something. You're a part of that group. There's intention behind everything that we do. Inclusive. Leadership and relational leadership in particular is inclusive. How are we going to work to include everyone? How are we going to pull everyone in? How are we going to find all of their perspectives and put them together so that we're hearing and we're understanding and we're celebrating what everyone in the group is kind of saying? Part of it is their job to meet us too. But how are we going to be inclusive of those people in our group and in our organizations? We're going to talk about that. A lot about these things. Each one of these is like chapters. Empowering. Leadership is about empowering others. Empowering others to be the best that they can be. And we're going to be working on that with you all as well. Empowering them to speak their mind. Empowering them to take steps out of their comfort zone. To be courageous and to do those things. To take initiative and to not be afraid to gain that confidence. So empowering. And it's ethical. There's so many decisions that we make as leaders every day. There's so many things that we're faced with as individuals, as people every day. You know, I find a wallet on the ground. You know, what do I do with that wallet? I'm talking with a student and they tell me something that's pretty deep and pretty heavy. And they've said, please don't tell anyone, don't tell anyone. You know, there's decisions that we make. A fellow peer leader or a fellow student makes some decisions that could be harmful to themselves and others. There's decisions that we have to make every single day. And how are we making those decisions ethically? You know, for the betterment of us and for the betterment of the people that we're working with and for the good of the whole. The good of one doesn't outweigh the good of the whole. And then process-oriented. Leadership is process-oriented. Again, we talk about how it's purposeful and there's a process behind things. It's not just, again, willy-nilly. There's a method to the madness, there's a method to what we're doing and how we're doing it. And leadership needs to be well thought out. It's not something that you can just do. And I mean, you can, but I don't think you're going to have the kind of results that you want to be having. So we're going to talk about all of those things in depth in this class, and this is kind of an intro to what that is. Whew. Okay. What I know about leadership is not only summed up in this one slide. There's probably lots of other things, but these are some of the things that, you know, given that I did this last year, kind of talking about leadership and stuff like that, these are some things that I know. First thing is about goals, really. You need a track for your train. If you want to be a leader, you got to have goals. You got to have a direction that you're going in. Otherwise, you're kind of off in so many different directions, your energy is wasted. So you got to have some sort of a path, have a track. You're going to get what you give in terms of leadership. And isn't that really, these are really life lessons, not necessarily about leadership. But as much as you put out, that's what you'll get back. Maybe not right away. There's many times in my life where I've given a lot to a student, they just didn't quite get it. But you know what, 3 months ago, or a year after things happened, I'll get an email from someone saying, you know what, Mo? I get it now. I didn't get it then, but I get it now. A lot of times we're planting seeds, you know, for folks. And it may not develop then when we're working with them, it may not develop right away, but that's, you know, you're going to get what you give. With relationship comes grace. How many times do we look at someone, we don't know who they are, they do something, they bump into us, and we're like, hey. You know, and we get all foul about that person bumping into us and not saying excuse me or something like that. But as you get to know people, they bump into you, you're like, oh, sorry, yeah, you're okay, you're okay. You know, with relationship comes grace. You've got to get to know the people that you're working with to really understand what they're about, who they're about, what they have to give, and what you have to give them. So with relationship comes grace. So there's something that I always tell my staff, get to know the people that you're working with. It's going to make so much of a difference. You can go on and do things and not really get to know the people. But if you do, it's going to be so much richer of experience for you and for them. Pay attention. And this is what I was talking about before. I wasn't quiet. I wasn't listening to what the student was saying in my session. I was just worried about what I was going to say and how I was going to respond. That will come, is what I've learned over the years. But you have to be quiet and listen and observe. And sometimes it's just sitting down and watching the group as they're interacting, maybe even for the first few minutes or something with that when you get to go, when you get with them. But just taking a minute to kind of watch and observe, and I kind of watched as you guys were coming in, you women and men were coming in, excuse me, and just kind of getting a feel for who's coming in here, you know, and observing kind of what's going on. You know, and being quiet, sometimes that helps us too. A lot of times we get into helping positions, we want to be leaders, we want to get involved because either someone helped us, or we feel we can do something better than the last person that we saw do it. You know, or we're just trying to go outside ourselves too much because it's too hard to listen to what's going on inside. So you have to be able to listen to what's going on inside you and inside the people you're working with in order to be all that you can be for those folks. Talking in Army terms here, sorry. Leadership is not always easy. You know, some people may make it look easy. Maybe that's because they've had a lot of experience, or they just have that type of personality, or whatever just clicks with that group. Even within the same realm, like there's, 38 summer O leaders or 28 summer O leaders. Some of the groups are a little bit, smoother running, and other groups not quite so much. It's not easy. Just because a group is going well, there's a lot of different dynamics that come into play there. Some of it could be that the leader is doing a great job. Some of it could be the students that came in just are really willing and eager and ready to go. Sometimes when someone's struggling, they're a great leader, but the group is just not quite willing, Summer orientation, some students are just too cool for school. Think back to your summer orientation group. Any folks that didn't really quite engage, didn't really quite, get to be a part of that group. Some of them too cool for school, but I bet you'd find behind that, they're nervous, they're scared, they're worried about fitting in, just like we all are most of the time when we're getting into a new group of people. There's something behind that, so figuring that stuff out. It's not always easy figuring that stuff out. Leadership is supposed to be hard. I think our theme last year is like from a league of their own. It's supposed to be hard. If it were easy, everyone would be doing it. If it were easy, we'd have the Weil Hall and everyone would be sitting in there right now. Instead, it's the 200 of you. Leaders just do. They take the initiative. And that's something that you want to think about is, how do you do that? There's not one right way to do it. There's 28 different summer orientation groups. There's 56 different CSAs. There's 12 or so different, 7 or 8 different peer mentors and faculty members here, and everyone is going to be doing things differently. Probably are going to come to the same end result, but everyone is going to be doing things differently. There's not one right way to do it. Alvin could do this presentation and take my slides and do the presentation. He'd probably do a very different presentation, and it would still be okay, because he's wonderful, first of all, but, because there's just not one right way. And leadership should be fun. We should be having a good time learning about leadership in your classes. We should be having a good time getting to know each other. We should be having a good time, thinking about the folks that we're going to be working with, when we get past this point. Even when it's tough, it should be fun. If it's not fun, I'd say reevaluate as to whether or not this is something you want to do. Doesn't mean it's not going to be hard, but it's going to be fun. Overall class things. Those are my thoughts generally about leadership in general. You're going to go into the classroom and you're going to find that each person that is instructing your class is going to have a different way of looking at things, a different way of viewing things. But there are some things that they're going to be doing similarly, and some of those are behind me. Some of the class expectations. For the class ends when the person is done talking, not at 12:50. So keep that in mind. I know we have a tendency to kind of roll up our books and at 12:45 or 12:47, and you're not hearing what's going on. Again, it goes back to that one piece I talked about listening, being observant, paying attention. You're going to miss something. No cell phones. Not even to check the time or something like that. Sends the wrong message to the presenter. You're going to have different people in here too talking. You're going to have different folks in your classrooms. So put the cell phones on hold, put them in your pocket, turn them off. There's probably a clock in the room. You can look at things there, or the instructor will tell you when it's time to be wrapping up and going. There's a clock right there, yes. Disconnect from the outside world for 50 minutes. It's only 50 minutes. So if you can disconnect from the world here for about 50 minutes and not be connecting with those things, playing games, doing stuff like that, nothing is that important that it can't wait a little bit. If there is something that is important that can't wait for a little bit, talk to your instructor about that. Maybe someone's in the hospital or someone's sick and that's going to affect you listening and paying attention. Talk to your instructor about that and they'll figure something out. But be here, be now, live in the now. But engage with the presenter, engage with the people if there's different things that you're going to be doing together. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And don't be doing other work during the presentations. There's a lot of information that you're going to be getting from the presenters that are going to be up here. So try to keep in mind that we need your attention. All right, so no other, I know it's hard, I know you've got other things to do. Sometimes our night gets away from us the night before, the weekend before, but focus on here and focus on what we're doing here. And respect the confidentiality of what's shared by the presenters and by others in here. There may be some sharing times, some of the presenters might ask you to do some of that. You know, it's not really something that needs to be shared outside of the classroom and outside of this size hall as well. Alrighty? And then other thing is Seawolf Leadership Program hiring process. The process is already beginning in terms of the applications being available. How am I on time? Am I okay? Oh, the clock is right there. I just said that, didn't I? The Seawolf leadership process kind of encompasses about 12 to 15 positions. There's different positions from summer O leader, summer bridge leader, CSA, peer mentor, SYE, FYE, FIG, there's the co-op leader, there's a lot of different positions. Stretch, there's lots of different things going on. And on our website, you can look at all those different positions, and maybe you've been affected by one of those positions. You all have, because you came to summer orientation. If you live on campus, you have a CSA. If you're in the FIG or FYE or co-op, you have that. If you're in a freshman seminar in class, or a University 1, what is it called? 150? The FLC, thank you, I couldn't think of those letters. If you're in an FLC, you had a peer mentor there, so all of your lives have been affected by the peer leaders here. And it will again with the peer leaders that you have in the class. So if you're interested in applying for some of those positions, which many of you raised your hands earlier and said, yes, I am, or even if you think you might be, just because you go through the process doesn't mean you need to accept the position. But it's going to be very difficult to go through the process after it begins. So if you think you might be interested, go through the process, just to go through it and have that option available to you. There's peer leadership info sessions. The last one is this next Thursday at noon in the Sonoma Valley room, second floor of the Student Center. So we'll have some current student leaders there. We'll talk a little bit about leadership, talk a little bit about what their roles entail, answer some questions, and we'll talk a little bit more about the process. So if you want to hear about that. Step 2 is to go to, there's a website there, but unfortunately you can't see it. Luckily, I sent it out last night in an email to everybody. So you got that email last night. You should have the you should just click on the link to the peer leadership page and it will go right to it. If you want to apply for the jobs, you have to start doing that now because you're going to need to do an essay. You're going to need to do the application. You want to give your fall 213 grades, transcripts. But most importantly, you're going to ask for a letter of reference from someone. And you need to give them enough time to do it. It's not really a letter that they have to write. They just get a link emailed to them. They fill it out and email it back to us. But you want to give people enough time. And when you're going to ask for a letter of recommendation, anyone have an idea of how you might do that? Has anyone asked for a letter of recommendation? What have you said when you asked for a letter of recommendation? What is your name, first of all?
Ian.
Ian. Hi, Ian. I'm Mo.
Hi.
So what did you ask?
I just sent a little email saying, hi, I need, I don't know what I said, it was like 2 weeks ago. I just need to use some of the references.
So you're asking them, instead of telling them, hey, can you do this reference for me? So you're asking them, first of all, I'm applying for a peer leader position on campus. Do you feel comfortable? Can you give a positive reference? I can't tell you how many reference letters we get back where people get negative reference letters. They didn't ask if the person could do a positive one or a negative one. So make sure that you ask. You may think that they love you. Sometimes you just got to make sure that they can give you a positive letter of reference. So ask them and give them enough time. Tell them it's not actually a letter, it's a link that will be emailed to them. That makes a big difference to those of us that do lots and lots of references. All right? So those are some of the things. Also, you have to be in Leadership 238. That's part of the process as well. You're already in that. Good for you. You're the lucky ones. You have to get a B or better, not a B minus. You have to get a B or better. If you don't get a B or better in this class, you will not be able to continue in the process, or you won't be able to be hired at the end of the semester until your grades get up or until you can take the class. So just pay attention in class. That's where the listening comes in. and do well. Make sure you go to class, that's also a key. You're going to post your transcripts with your fall 2013 grades. Make sure you do that. A lot of people don't do that. You're going to complete 238, pass with B or better. Submit your application no later than Friday, January 31st at 4:30 p.m. It's going to lock at 4:30 p.m. I don't have control of that lock. So don't email me at 4:37 and say, Mo, I'm really sorry, I didn't get it in. Do it today. Give yourself plenty of time. Don't wait till the last minute. Because once that's done, we will not let other people apply. All right? We want to make sure there's a lot of hoops to jump through. We want to make sure you can do this. Once you get these positions, there's going to be a lot more hoops to jump through. So just to let you know, or any position that you get into, it doesn't have to be these positions, any leadership position. There's a lot of details, a lot of things you have to keep track of. This is the first step in that for us. And then we'll let you know, once we approve your application, how the online signups will take place. But that's basically it. There will be individual interviews, and there will be group interviews that you'll be asked to take part in. Don't be afraid, it's kind of fun. You can ask your peer mentor. It's a good time. But it does require you to come on a Saturday and work with us a little bit. So what we wanted to do today was give you a little bit of an intro to what the class is going to be about, and I know your faculty will go more into detail, so I don't want to give it all away. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of an idea about what is leadership from my standpoint, from the standpoint of the relationship leadership model, relational leadership model, and from the standpoint of some others that I kind of looked at there in Google. You're going to have your own definition of leadership, and I'm sure that your faculty is going to ask you a little bit about that and why you have that definition. So be thinking about that before you go to your first class. All right? Make sure you do your homework when you're in this class. Make sure that if you want these jobs or if you want to learn, you've got to put the effort into it. All right? I wish you luck. In your semester. I know this is the first day. I don't know if there's any questions about anything that I talked about. Anyone have any questions? Yes?
Can you apply for more than one position?
Absolutely, you can apply for more than one position. You can't usually hold more than one position in your first semester, but you can sign up for all those positions. Here's what's going to play out with that, though. You sign up for 7 positions to interview for. Chances are you're probably going to have about 6 or 7 interviews. So keep that in mind. You're going to have an interview for just about every position that you apply for. So there are some positions that interview together, like summer orientation and peer mentor. But just to note that you can apply for as many as you want. And you will get a letter on the same day from every position letting you know whether or not you got the position, and you'll have to make a choice for most of them. Good question, thank you. And you can hear more about that in the leadership workshop. Yes?
Our part of the applications are due on the 31st at 4:30. Does that mean that the teachers have to fill out their letter of recs by then too?
That is why it's important for you to contact them now if you have not already. If there's a glitch in the program, we will accept the letters of recommendation a little bit later. But otherwise, we want everything to be in by 4:30 because I have to accept the application and say it's complete so you can sign up for interviews, and the interviews are that next week. So if your letters are not in, that's going to be a little bit of an issue. And we'll be starting to email people pretty soon, letting you know if you're missing anything in your application. So watch your Seawolf email for that. Also, make sure you put your local address. Okay? People put their address in Versailles, and I'm like, well, that's where your hire letters are going to go, is back home. So make sure you put your local address if you want to get information here about whether or not you got hired. One more question, then I know we got to go. Yeah?
What if we can't attend the program on Thursday?
That is okay. You don't have to. If you have questions, email me back on any of your emails or ask any of your peer mentors. They all should know the answers to the questions. All right, do we have anything else to do, Alvin?
Thank you, Mom.
Thank you for your time today.